From Cape Canaveral in Florida, this is Falcon Launch Control at T-minus 1 hour, 16 minutes, 48 seconds, and counting. The countdown is on schedule for the launch of the SpaceX CRS-5 Falcon 9 with the Dragon capsule bound for a rendezvous with the International Space Station. Launch is targeted for liftoff at 4:47 this morning. The Dragon capsule was powered on atop the rocket overnight yesterday at T-minus 28 hours. The pre-launch activities have been underway at Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station since 6:47 last night when the Falcon 9 rocket was powered on after completing the late cargo storage. The Falcon 9 was then scheduled to be raised to vertical at about 7:47 p.m. The launch pad then was cleared of personnel at 11:47 last night, and the call to stations for the SpaceX launch team in preparation for fueling occurred at about 12:30 this morning. This is the terminal phase of the countdown, which is 4 hours and 10 minutes in duration. There are no built-in holds in the countdown. Loading of the RP-1 fuel, a highly refined rocket-grade kerosene, began at 1:47 a.m. and was followed by the start of loading of liquid oxygen beginning at 2:12. The loading of liquid oxygen is now being completed. Liquid oxygen going aboard the second stage. The S-band telemetry and video transmitters on the rocket have been checked out, and the flight termination checks with the eastern range have just been completed. Next up, coming up at T-minus 1 hour, will be a weather briefing with our Launch Weather Officer Mike McAleenan from the 45th Weather Squadron. The launch computer's automated terminal countdown sequence for the Falcon 9 and the Dragon capsule is initiated at T-minus 10 minutes. Not working any issues in the countdown at this time. We'll have a poll to pick up the final count at T-minus 13 minutes, which we'll be hearing. We'll go into the final launch preparations at about T-minus 20 minutes. At T-minus 2 minutes, the SpaceX launch director will give a go for launch, and concurrence is also received by the range control officer from the Air Force Eastern Range at that time. Then at T-minus 60 seconds, the flight computer will begin the final pre-launch checks. At T-minus 40 seconds, the Falcon 9 propellant tanks will be pressurized for flight. And then finally, at T-minus 3 seconds, the main engine controller aboard the vehicle commands engine ignition sequence for the start of the liftoff. Proceeding toward liftoff this morning at 4:47. Still our targeted launch time and on schedule for that at this point. At T-minus 1 hour, 13 minutes, 30 seconds, and counting, this is Falcon Launch Control. This is Falcon Launch Control, T-minus 1 hour, 6 minutes, 35 seconds, and counting. Our activities continue to run on schedule for our targeted liftoff time of 4:47. We've got just a 1 second instantaneous window this morning. And most of our channels that we're monitoring here in the Mission Director Center are relatively quiet. We have very few things to discuss at this point because the launch vehicle is essentially doing very well toward our launch this morning. After the liftoff from Complex 40, the Dragon will be beginning its journey to the International Space Station. Just after 10 minutes after launch, the capsule will reach its preliminary orbit and deploy its solar arrays. And then it will begin a carefully choreographed series of engine firings to rendezvous with the International Space Station. The initial planned orbit is 227.1 by 123.8 statute miles at an inclination of 51.6 degrees. The initial apogee, or the high point of the orbit after launch, is below the ISS by about 35 miles. On its 2-day chase as it pursues the International Space Station, Dragon will be at an average altitude of 175.4 statute miles. With the launch today, rendezvous and grapple with the ISS will occur on Monday, January the 12th at 6:12 a.m. Eastern Time. Our next regularly scheduled activity in the count is our launch minus 1 hour weather briefing, which we'll be hearing from the 45th Weather Squadron Weather Operations Center on Cape Canaveral Air Force Station with our launch weather officer, Mike McAleenan. At T-minus 1 hour, 4 minutes, 30 seconds and counting, this is Falcon Launch Control. This is Falcon Launch Control, T-minus 1 hour, 45 seconds and counting. Standing by here in about half a minute for our launch minus 1 hour weather briefing with our launch weather officer, Mike McAleenan.
This is the LWO with the L-1 hour range weather briefing. On video, you can see an enhanced satellite picture showing diminishing cloud cover approaching east central Florida. This cloud cover has been diminishing and is not showing up on radar at 0 dBz, which is cloud edge on radar. So looking real good for cloud coverage tonight. Also, on satellite, you can see the recovery area is currently in some low clouds and has been approaching the edge of that low cloud area and should be moving into a more scattered and few coverage shortly. Looking closer to the pad, you can see winds have diminished off to about 10, peak to 15 knots at 162 feet, expected to remain so through the remainder of the count. Wind direction has been very steady at around 330 degrees, and again, no change is expected. Temperature with the northwesterly winds had continued to diminish and is now at about 52 degrees. Expected to another degree or so a drop by the time we get to T0. Solar weather has been benign through the last several days, and no activity is expected through the count. We are currently go on all range weather and Falcon 9 weather criteria. Forecast remains scattered skies, good visibility, winds out of the northwest at 10, peak 15, and a low temperature right around T0 at 50 degrees Fahrenheit, with just a 10% chance of a thick cloud layer rule violation if one of those cloud decks should roll straight over the pad and enhance slightly. In the event of a delay, Tuesday's conditions show some improvement from what we will see over the Space Coast Sunday and Monday, but the clearing time is just prior to T0 on Tuesday. So in case the cloud cover doesn't quite clear in time, we are holding with a 40% chance of violation with mostly a thick cloud layer and flight through precipitation rules. This concludes the briefing, pending any questions.
LWO on WeatherNet.
Yes, sir. LDA question on CC Local. The Weather 1 aircraft has been requested to take off. Expected to get into the area at about 9:20 Zulu and verify the thickness of the clouds. We're seeing some discrepancy from satellite readings, the balloon soundings, and what we're showing on radar, so we want to get confirmation. LD question on weather brief. Nothing. No questions. Okay, thank you. LWO out.
Self-line's complete. We're back in manual.
Flight software on countdown 1. Confirm consolidators configured properly for flight.
Stand by, RC.
This is Falcon Launch Control, T-minus 52 minutes, 38 seconds, and counting. Next activity coming up will be enabling our telemetry systems on the vehicle, starting at 27 minutes, or rather 45 minutes before launch. All of our activities continuing to press toward a liftoff at 4:47 a.m. this morning. Looking now at some of the control facilities around Cape Canaveral. First, this is the SpaceX Launch Control Center on Cape Canaveral Air Force Station, where the SpaceX launch team is controlling the Falcon 9 this morning. To control rooms where the team is located. This is a live picture from the Mission Control Center that SpaceX has at their headquarters in Hawthorne, California. And this Mission Control Center is where the flight of the Dragon and the Falcon 9 will be controlled from after we have the liftoff from Space Launch Complex 40 this morning. This is Mission Control in Houston for the International Space Station, and from where the SpaceX launch countdown is being monitored this morning, both in terms of the Falcon 9 and particularly for the Dragon after it separates from the Falcon 9 rocket. Meanwhile on the pad, the flowing all 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 on the pad, the flowing of liquid oxygen continuing for the topping sequence here shortly. Again, we heard we have just a 10% chance of having a weather issue, and there is a weather reconnaissance aircraft just going out to verify. Again, we heard we have just a 10% chance of having a weather issue, and there is a weather reconnaissance aircraft just going out to verify what we're actually seeing on satellite and radar. At T-minus 50 minutes, 7 seconds, and counting. This is Falcon Launch Control.
RC on countdown 1, the consolidator is now configured for flight.
Thank you.
This is Falcon Launch Control at T-minus 45 minutes and counting. Right now we are enabling our telemetry systems on the vehicle and on the ground, preparation for launch this morning. And the next activity to follow is going to be taking the Dragon to internal power at T-minus 27 minutes. The Dragon capsule on this test flight will transport a total of 5,108 pounds of cargo to the International Space Station, including food, water, and clothing for the astronauts, and science experiments from the U.S., Japan, and the European Space Agency. Dragon is actually capable of carrying up to 7,300 pounds of supplies to the space station, should we have that much to take up to the ISS. After 4 weeks in space on this mission, the crew will download into the Dragon approximately 3,600 pounds of cargo, including completed science experiments and expended consumables, to be brought back to Earth. Once in orbit, Dragon will have a link with a network of ground tracking stations around the world, as well as with NASA's Tracking and Data Relay satellite system. For its return, which is approximately 4 hours after Dragon leaves the station, Dragon will conduct its deorbit burn, which lasts about 7 minutes. And then it will take about 30 minutes for Dragon to re-enter the Earth's atmosphere and splash down in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of Baja California. At T-minus 43 minutes, 10 seconds, and counting, this is Falcon Launch Control. This is Falcon Launch Control, T-minus 39 minutes, 51 seconds and counting. Right now, the launch team in the SpaceX Launch Control Center is beginning to configure the vehicle into its final launch configuration. This customarily starts at about T-minus 40 minutes, and that will take us to our next activity, which is taking Dragon to internal power at T-minus 27 minutes. This is the SpaceX Launch Control Center on Cape Canaveral, where the launch team is controlling the Falcon 9 rocket on the pad and our Dragon capsule. Launch weather continues to look good, just a 20%, or rather 10% chance of having a weather issue, and we have a weather aircraft out doing some ground truth to validate all of the things we're seeing on satellite and radar to ensure that everything is in a go configuration. So at this time, the launch team is not having too much to discuss in terms of any technical issues, and we're continuing to press for our T0 at 4:47 a.m. this morning. At T-minus 38 minutes, 25 seconds, and counting, this is Falcon Launch Control.
OSM LC countdown net.
This OSM.
Can you verify flight hazard area roadblocks are established?
They are established.
Copy. T-minus 30 minutes.
Purge ISO cycle.
This is Falcon Launch Control, T-minus 26 minutes, 18 seconds and counting. The Dragon capsule being placed into its internal power, and the launch team discussing among themselves their readiness to go into the terminal countdown sequence, final launch preparations that pick up at T-minus 20 minutes, about 6 minutes from now. About 10 minutes after launch, Dragon reaches its preliminary orbit. It then deploys its solar arrays and begins a carefully choreographed series of thruster firings to reach the space station. After a 2-day trip, NASA astronauts Barry Wilmore and Terry Virts will use the station's 57-foot robotic arm to reach out and capture the Dragon spacecraft as they operate from the station's cupola. Ground commands will be sent from Houston for the station's arm to install Dragon on the bottom side of the station's Harmony module for its stay at the space station. By the next day, the crew will pressurize the vestibule between the station and the Dragon and will open the hatch that leads to the forward bulkhead of Dragon. Then during the next 4 weeks, the crew will unload the spacecraft and reload it with cargo for return to Earth. Departure from the ISS will occur on Tuesday, February the 10th. About 5.5 hours after it departs the station, it will splash down in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of Southern California. At T-minus 24 minutes, 43 seconds and counting, this is Falcon Launch Control.
See you on countdown. I'm going to discuss the FTS issue on Anomaly Net.
OSM, LC on countdown now.
OSM.
I just wanted to remind you that post-launch activities will be performed on Pad A.
Roger, I'll go Pad A right after T0.
This is Falcon Launch Control, T-minus 22 minutes, 9 seconds and counting. Brief discussion on the Anomaly Net about some multipath that they have seen in on some of the Omni antenna readings. And so since those are associated with some of the range safety systems, they've come up with a plan to allow the range, depending on what they're seeing, to either go with the primary or backup Omni antennas based on whether or not they're getting good solid data on those range safety systems, and that plan is agreed to by the range. And so unless there's some unanticipated dropouts, the plan is to proceed with letting the range have that flexibility to decide what antenna they would like to use when we get close to launch. No other issues in work at this time, and we're at T-minus 21 minutes, 13 seconds and counting. This is Falcon Launch Control.
TE set warnings phase to terminal count.
Stand by. And warnings are set to terminal count.
This is Falcon Launch Control, T-minus 19 minutes, 34 seconds and counting. And with that word, we're going into the start of the terminal countdown preparations. Final launch count. No issues being expressed by the launch team at this point. Vehicle is good to go to proceed to begin those final launch countdown preparations. So our next milestone will be at T-minus 13 minutes when we'll have a readiness poll of 14 console positions. Our last weather balloon is being released from Cape Canaveral to assess the upper level winds. So far no issues on that front. So right now we continue to be go for a launch on schedule this morning. Liftoff still targeted for 4:47 a.m. At T-minus 18 minutes, 10 seconds and counting. This is Falcon Launch Control. This is Falcon Launch Control, T-minus 16 minutes, 33 seconds and counting. We're getting ready for our final polls, which will occur at T-minus 13 minutes. 9 SpaceX Merlin engines power the 157-foot-long Falcon 9 rocket, which is being held down on the pad and not released for flight until all of the propulsion and launch vehicle systems are confirmed to be in operation and running properly. That starts at about T-minus 3 seconds. After liftoff, the first stage will burn for 3 minutes before separating from the rest of the rocket. And a single Merlin engine on the second stage will burn for 5 3/4 minutes before the Dragon separates from the Falcon 9, 9 minutes 35 seconds after launch. After the liftoff, mission control for the Falcon 9 and the Dragon spacecraft, as we've said, will be at the SpaceX Mission Control Center in Hawthorne, California. Dragon will have a link with a series of ground tracking stations around the world, and also will be using NASA's tracking and data relay satellite system. Standing by now for our final readiness polls. Coming up in about 2 minutes, we'll be hearing our SpaceX launch conductor Brian Childers and our SpaceX launch director Ricky Lynn. Weather continuing to look good. We're at T-minus 15 minutes and count. This is Falcon Launch Control.
All stations verify ready for launch. FTS.
FTS go.
Prop.
Prop go.
AVI.
AVI go.
GNC.
GNC go.
Ground.
Ground go.
VC.
VC go.
GC.
JC's go.
RC.
RC go.
OSM.
OSM go.
ROC.
Rock go.
CE.
Go.
MD.
Dragon MDs go.
LD verify go to initiate terminal count.
Launch director verify and go for initiate terminal count.
Proceeding with countdown master auto sequence.
VCDC start the terminal count auto sequence set to start at T-minus 10 minutes.
Copy.
Copy started.
If a hold is called from this point forward, the terminal count auto sequence will be aborted. Indicate an abort or hold condition by saying hold, hold, hold on the primary countdown net. In this event, the VC will immediately abort the auto sequence. The VC shall not abort the auto sequence after T-minus 10 seconds, and operators shall not call a hold after T-minus 10 seconds. If a hold is called, all operators proceed to terminal count abort steps in section 10.61. Attention all personnel, stand by to pick up the count. T-minus 10 minutes and counting on my mark. Three, two, one, mark. VC, DC, announce auto sequence has started.
Terminal count has started.
Dragon terminal count has started.
GC, VC, stand by on FireX.
Standing by.
Standing by.
RC, start the tracking camera video recorders.
Roger.
OSM, set launch enabled to flight.
Flight.
Pre-valves open, starting in 1D engine chill. Securing Dragon chilled water system. Setting up ground T-tip system.
T-minus 8 minutes.
ACS closeout started. Closing out stage 1 heaters.
T-minus 7 minutes.
This is Falcon Launch Control, T-minus 6 minutes 56 seconds and counting. The flight computer will begin its final alignment at T-minus 6 minutes 17 seconds. And then we'll be ready for the Dragon to initiate its terminal count auto sequence. Falcon 9 will go to internal power right at this point. That is occurring right now. Transfer to internal power in work. Still on schedule for a launch at 4:47. Now at T-minus 6 minutes 10 seconds and counting. This is Falcon Launch Control.
T-minus 6 minutes.
Tanks pressing for strong back retract. F9 is on internal power. Final M1D fuel bleed started. Upper cradle opening.
T-minus 5 minutes.
Starting impact TVC motion. Strong back lower started.
T-minus 4 minutes.
GNC verifies good TVC motion.
This is Falcon Launch Control, T-minus 3 minutes, 38 seconds and counting. The umbilical strong back is now retracted. Standing by to terminate lock stopping and arm the flight termination system. We're at T-minus 3 minutes, 20 seconds. Strong back fully retracted now.
FTS is on internal power. FTS is armed.
T-minus 3 minutes.
Lock load closing out. FTS in countdown. Check channels is solid and healthy on stage 2 and stage 1. Helium fill closing out.
LD, verify go for launch.
SpaceX Falcon 9 and Dragon are go for launch.
Stage 1 tanks pressing to flight pressures.
Rock, verify ranges go.
Range green.
T-minus 1 minute. VCDC, verify F9 and Dragon are in startup.
Vehicles in startup.
Dragon is in startup.
Stage 2 tanks pressing to flight pressures.
T-minus 30 seconds.
Standing by now for ignition of the main engines at T-minus 3 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. Securing, liquid oxygen securing has started. T-minus 15 seconds. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And liftoff of the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket with Dragon, continuing the resupply chain to the International Space Station.
Towers.
Pitch kick is in.
OSMGC proceeds in section 10.63.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
F9 power telemetry on.
T plus 60 seconds, altitude 5.5 kilometers, speed 250 meters per second, downrange distance 0.9 kilometers. Stage 1 propulsion continues to perform nominally. Vehicle supersonic has reached maximum aerodynamic pressure.
F9 power and telemetry still nominal.
Landing platform has received acquisition of signal.
NAVVAC has begun chill. Altitude 35 kilometers, speed 1 kilometer per second, downrange distance 14.5 kilometers. T plus 2 minutes 30 seconds. Altitude 58 kilometers, speed 1.8 kilometers per second, downrange distance 33 kilometers. And we have MECO 1.
Stage separation confirmed.
And we have second stage ignition. Altitude 90 kilometers, speed 1.9 kilometers per second, downrange distance 67 kilometers. T plus 4 minutes. Stage 2 propulsion is still nominal. Altitude 134 kilometers, speed 2.1 kilometers per second, downrange distance now 135 kilometers.
First and second stage power and telemetry nominal.
Stage 1 is in boost back startup.
T plus 5 minutes. Altitude 166 kilometers, speed 2.6 kilometers per second, downrange distance now 225 kilometers.
We have stage 1 boost back shutdown.
120 kilometers.
Falcon Launch Control. We're now 5 minutes 30 seconds into the flight. The next major event is the second stage engine cutoff, which will occur at 9 minutes 27 seconds into flight. Flight going well.
Stage 2 propulsion is still nominal.
All the data look good. Coming back into the Mission Control Center. Vehicle right on target, flying down the mission trajectory.
Second stage power and telemetry nominal.
AOS at the New Hampshire tracking station.
We have stage 1 entry burn startup.
And we have this.
Stage 2 propulsion continues to perform as expected.
Stage 1 entry shutdown.
T plus 7 minutes, 15 seconds. Altitude 205 kilometers, speed 4.2 kilometers per second, downrange.
Stage 1 FTS is saved.
Vehicle continues
Stage 1
down
is
a normal
transonic.
trajectory. Stage 2 propulsion is still nominal.
Second stage FTS is saved.
Uprange assets have lost signal on first stage. Vehicles now at the horizon. T plus 9 minutes, altitude 208 kilometers, speed 6.9 kilometers per second, downrange distance 850 kilometers. And we have SECO.
Second stage has cut off, standing by now for Dragon spacecraft separation.
And we have second stage engine cutoff, standing by for spacecraft separation.
Dragon separation confirmed.
And we've heard it. Second stage, Dragon has separated. Next up, we'll be deploying the Dragon's solar arrays at about 11 minutes into the mission.
Newfoundland AOS.
Solar array deployment now underway on the Dragon capsule, as we can see here. So up to this point, we have a 100% successful mission underway.
And we have nominal loss signal from the New Hampshire tracking station. Newfoundland station continues to source telemetry to the Launch Control Center.
This is Falcon Launch Control, now at a mission elapsed time of 16 minutes 29 seconds, and continuing on into the flight of the Dragon with the solar arrays now successfully deployed. All the telemetry data just word we've had successful orbit insertion, and the orbit is on track. We'll have tracking coming through the Air Force Diego Garcia tracking station. At about 22 minutes into the mission, we just lost signal from the tracking station at Newfoundland, in Newfoundland. Diego Garcia is next. Again, we appear to have a good orbit. Dragon reporting good data. Solar arrays out. Orbit is nominal. Nothing is amiss. So at this point, let's go in and watch some of our launch replays. We're now at a mission elapsed time of 17 minutes 38 seconds. This is Dragon Launch Control. This is Falcon 9 launch control. We're now at a mission elapsed time of 30 minutes, 28 seconds. And continuing with the flight of Dragon, a successful flight of the Falcon 9. During the launch replays, we've been getting data back from the Dragon through the Oak Hangar tracking station in England, and the Dragon's state of health appears to be excellent. The orbit is right on, and nothing is amiss at all. Next acquisition is coming up through the Diego Garcia tracking station here in about another 8.5 minutes. But so far, everything we've gotten from Dragon through here indicates that everything is nominal, and the Dragon is in a good state. And the Dragon is in a good state of health, and the orbit is nominal. We've been getting data back from the GPS receivers as well, also indicating that the Dragon is also on a nominal trajectory. So at this point, we have a very successful launch of the Falcon 9 as well as the Dragon capsule with our supplies going to the International Space Station. We're planning on a post-launch news conference in about an hour and a quarter from now, and hoping to get some additional information on the state of the Falcon 9. So the next major event for the Dragon, the rendezvous and grapple with the International Space Station, is going to occur on Monday. That's January the 12th at 6:12 a.m. Eastern Time. So at this time, we're going to conclude our launch coverage of the Falcon 9 and the Dragon with a successful launch this morning. The exact launch time flashing up here in the Mission Director Center on our screen was 4:47:10.119 seconds. We're now at a mission elapsed time of 33 minutes 30 seconds into the mission of the Dragon 9 to the International Space Station. This is Falcon Launch Control.